Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're off to a good morning. I am feeling good. I took a day off yesterday. We had a best of kind of interview show. I went on a fishing trip, imagine that, but I had a good time. Time is running out in this year, and I'm trying to get as many in as I possibly can. But I am here live doing the show from Big Daddy Unlimited Studios. They're our sponsor, by the way. If you're new to the show, let me just tell you, first of all, welcome, howdy, how are you? We're glad to have you. But our sponsor is Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise known as BDU. We come at you live Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, or as close as we can get to it. And of course, we're rebroadcast on America's Voice News. Good morning, how are you? On their streaming service, download your free app on your Android, your iPhone, Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick, Channel 219 Dish Network, and the Pluto Network. So we're on America's Voice News as well. But Big Daddy Unlimited is our sponsor. What you need to do is go to the top of, no matter where you're watching the show, our YouTube channel, for instance, John Martin Talks, spell it all the way out. We're now on Rumble and BitChute and many, many more. So check us out. But look, no matter where or when you're watching the show, look above the video. You will see a sponsorship link. It will take you to Big Daddy Unlimited, your Second Amendment headquarters, where you can get guns, ammunition delivered directly to your door at factory direct pricing, as well as swag and tactical gear, literally thousands of items. They're your Second Amendment headquarters because they are the defender of the Second Amendment, Big Daddy Unlimited. We're also doing a giveaway. We've got just a few days left in our giveaway in the compliments of Patriot Threads. In that same description of our show, look at the giveaway link, click on there, no obligation, and you could be one of our lucky listeners that wins these 3 t-shirts from Patriot Threads. PatriotThreads.org, by the way, is the organization. They call themselves Apparel with a Purpose because they do a lot of charity events and an American theme, quite a few veterans groups. Go there, check them out. You can get anything they have to offer. Of course, we're doing a giveaway, but you can also go there, use the promo code JMT, John Martin Talks, get 20% off. Yes, 20% off anything they do at Patriot Threads. All right, we got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about a couple of different topics, and of course, I usually expand on each one of them. First of all, Sidney Powell. Yes, the great attorney Sidney Powell has asked the Supreme Court to nullify 2 of Joe Biden's wins, principally in Georgia and Michigan. And we'll get into the details of that. But she just filed this case. It showed up on their website or on their internet site. I guess I don't totally understand it. But basically, the Supreme Court is taking up the case. So they're going to hear it. Now, we already know, and I'll get into detail, what that may or may not mean. It could be great news. It could be sad news. But it is news. And then, of course, Mitch McConnell, old Mitch, who is the Senate leader, majority leader from the great state of Kentucky, he has now come out, congratulated Joe Biden for his win as president-elect, and basically told the Republicans to get in line. And they seem to be doing that. So we'll get right into it. This first story comes to you via Bloomberg. Ex-Trump lawyer Powell asks High Court to nullify 2 Biden wins. Sidney Powell, you may recall, is the attorney that kind of got to national prominence when she took over the Michael Flynn case and turned that case around from him literally probably facing jail time to eventually getting a pardon from the president. She was heroic in that effort, and first time I remember ever hearing of her, although she is a fairly famous attorney in certain circles. Well, she now has filed a suit to the Supreme Court against Georgia and Michigan because she started in the lower courts, and we'll get into details of that, and this is an appeal. Former Donald Trump campaign lawyer Sidney Powell asked the Supreme Court to overturn Joe Biden's election victories in Michigan and Georgia continuing with a flurry of long-shot litigation despite repeated rejections in the courts. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Donald Trump is under the gun big time here. His chances of holding on to his presidency and stopping the steal, I mean, I'll say it flat out. I believe Donald Trump won the election. Do I believe that he is now going to be the next president of the United States? I am extremely hopeful, but it is getting slimmer by the minute. But miracles can happen. But as they say, it's not over till the fat lady sings. And in this case, Stacey Abrams would be one of those fat ladies singing right there. I got something I got to get off my chest before we go any deeper, because I've been thinking a lot about this over the last several days. And I heard a couple of different pundits were asked of one fill-in. I won't give them, it doesn't really matter who they were, but I was listening to some satellite radio a couple of days ago, and I heard this gentleman, because a couple of callers came in and said, you know, we may be heading for a civil war. And the host of the show came back and said, no, I disagree with you. And of course, they were saying they were conservative and they're big Trump supporter. And I'm not denying that in any way, shape, or form. They said, no, we're not going to that route. We're going to go the route of voting, changing the election process, all these different litany of things. And let me just say this for the fact checkers out there and the algorithms, the most powerful algorithm. He's the most powerful guy in America right now. I am not advocating for a civil war. Let me just tell you that right now. I want to make it plain. I'm not advocating violence. But, and I put a big but in there, and I got a fairly big one, I'm not taking that off the table in the sense that I believe that it is possible, and it could be even probable, if things keep going like they are, that some type of action outside of the normal legal process is probably going to happen. It may be inevitable. It may take 30 more years. It may take next week. I don't know. But things are stirring out there. And I'm not advocating for this. But let me just tell you why I'm not ready to take that off the table when I say it's a possibility. Keep in mind this Georgia case. I think it kind of shows. In Georgia, and this is what Sidney Powell, one of the things she's suing over, beyond just the Dominion software and everything else, is there were hundreds of thousands of illegal ballots cast in the state of Georgia. Now, hang on. I'll give you proof in just a second, because everybody's saying, where's your proof? There's proof. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that prior to this, well, let me back up. The Constitution is pretty clear that we have essentially 50 state individual elections for the office of President of the United States. And each state is left to conduct those. The one thing that the Constitution is pretty specific on is that the state legislatures, this is a critical point, the state legislatures, which is what Texas was suing about. We'll talk more about that in a minute. First of all, thank you, Texas. I want to thank Texas, even though they weren't successful in their Supreme Court challenge. Thank you for having the courage to bring that up. So thank you, Texas, and you Texans out there, a grateful nation, at least a lot of us are. But back to the Constitution. The Constitution essentially says it's up to the states, but the one big caveat they put in there is that the state legislatures, not the governors, not the Secretary of States, not the Supreme Courts, all that kind of stuff, only the state legislatures can change the state election laws. So that's the big challenge that Texas was putting out there. But in the case of Georgia, very specifically, there was what they call a consent agreement between the governor and the Secretary of State, both Republicans, by the way, and Stacey Abrams, who, still claims that she's the rightful governor of Georgia, which is kind of crazy in multiple ways because she got beat by a bigger margin than what President Trump is supposedly being beat by in Georgia. And, she got beat by Kemp, who seems to be in league with her. So, politics make strange bedfellows. But what makes the Georgia case so egregious to me is it's obvious that this consent decree went outside the purview of the state legislature and changed election laws and essentially allowed all this cheat by mail. But think about who Kemp and who's the other, the guy, Brian Kemp is the governor, and less known is Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, I guess is how you say his name. I want to give him due credit because I want you to remember these guys. They got in league with Stacey Dadgum Abrams. Now remember when Stacey Abrams was running for governor, she literally said, and we're going to play the video that proves it right here in just a moment. She literally said that illegal aliens, in other words, illegal immigrants, people that don't have constitutional rights in this country, let alone voting rights, should be allowed to vote, in this case for her. Now, this is the person that the two Republicans, Kemp and let me say his name right, Raffensperger, got in league with, Stacey Abrams. Let's listen to this video because you don't have to take my word for it. Here is the proof. Check it out.
But the thing of it is, the blue wave is African American. Yeah. It's white, it's Latino, it's Asian Pacific Islander. Yes. It is disabled. Yes. It is differently abled. Yes. It is LGBTQ. Yes. It is law enforcement. Yes. It is veterans. Yes. It is made up of those who've been told that they are not worthy of being here. Yes. It is comprised of those who are documented and undocumented. Yes.
That's good enough right here. So basically, I like how she's, at that point, it was still popular to talk about the police in a positive way. Notice how things have changed in this couple of years. But she said the documented and the undocumented. That's illegal immigrants. Basically, she's saying that everybody in the world, citizen or not, it don't matter. Everybody in the world should be allowed, if they get here, to vote. Maybe by absentee, they could vote from anywhere, I guess. Should be allowed to vote in our election. That's basically what she's saying. And this is who our Republicans, because I am a member of the Republican Party, at least for now, this is who Republicans that you in Georgia elected. And they made a deal that stole the election from Donald Trump with Stacey Abrams, who just flat out admits that she wants to steal the election. That actually has me just, what do you do? What do you do? And now, just this past week, and we talked about it on our you check out our podcast. There's a couple ways to do it. One of the best ways, go to John Martin Talks YouTube, check it out. But you can see it on America's Voice News. They archive it as well, and we got it on Rumble, BitChute, everywhere we can get now. But SCOTUS, now that Supreme Court literally would not even hear the evidence in a trial, which they're constitutionally obligated, in my opinion, and the opinion of what is it, SCOTUS, or not Scalia, but it don't matter. And Justice Thomas, Scalia, I keep getting them wrong. Anyway, you know the deal, what I'm talking about there. But two judges actually dissented. They weren't the ones appointed by Donald Trump. The three appointed by the president put a knife in his back. I mean, I'm just going to call it like it's here. As much as we were celebrating Amy Coney Barrett, and maybe things will change between now and January 6th, which is a vital, critical date, kind of the drop dead date. We'll talk about that in a minute. But SCOTUS refused to hear the evidence in the case. And the Constitution literally says that when you have a dispute between states, that the Supreme Court can intervene in that. So they had a choice to do that. Salida, I think is the guy's name. And they had a choice, and they refused to, including, as I say, the three judges that were appointed by Donald Trump and celebrated so much. So what choice do we have, getting back to this idea of a civil war, before I lose my train of thought on it? I'm not advocating for it. I'm not. But if you can't trust your governors, your secretaries of state, you can't trust the court system, you can't trust the Supreme Court, what choice do you ultimately have? Well, we've been in this situation before in the United States of America, actually prior to the United States of America. When we were not being represented, at least we felt like, we, the American citizens at that time in the 1700s, felt like that they were being dictated to by a king. And isn't that kind of what's happening now? Aren't we becoming subjects of the realm instead of individuals? It's the Constitution. Because show me where the Constitution is being followed. If you disagree with me, that's fine. But show me where I'm constitutionally wrong about the cases that could be and should be before the Supreme Court. Just show me, because I can show you a ton of evidence in the Constitution itself. I just listed it that tells you that I'm right. But beyond that, this is the idea of this civil war, which I can't say enough because we got to try to stay on social media. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm simply telling you what could happen because we've done it before. I got a picture of the Declaration of Independence. Now it's long, and I'm only going to read a small portion of it here. But it makes this is straight from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator, which is extremely important, by the way, because if God gives you the rights, they call them inalienable rights, then man can't take them away. Man can help protect them, which is what the Constitution ultimately is about. But this was prior to the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit, as I always like to remind you, not the guarantee, but the pursuit of happiness. Now here's the key part. Listen to this. That to secure these rights, in other words, to secure our God-given rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. What that means, ladies and gentlemen, for you snowflakes out there that are trapped in public schools, it means that the government protects our rights, does not bestow them to us, and that we in the United States of America, and this is prior to the Constitution, but the Constitution is wrapped all around this. This is like one of the founding document, if you will, of our nation. That we give the government the consent to govern over us. The government doesn't exist without our consent. And the minute that we don't give it the consent, we have the right to get rid of it. That's what it says. So let me get back there. Men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That is you. That is not even President Trump. It's certainly not Mitch McConnell or Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or just a litany of people. They are not the dictators of what we give them permission to pass laws and govern us. That's the way it's supposed to be. And here's another key point, that whenever any form of government, even a constitutional republic, becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right, and I would even say obligation, but it says it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So the Declaration of Independence was telling King George, and it is as true today, if it was true then, it is true now, that a people, if you don't believe this, then you don't really belong in a constitutional republic. It's okay to disagree with this, but don't call yourself an American patriot and a believer in the Constitution if you disagree with it, because it's not possible. See, they want us to unify, right? That's Biden's message, unify. But one of the reasons why we can't unify is we don't agree anymore on the founding principles of this nation. You can totally agree and disagree with all kind of different things and still be one nation under God. It doesn't say we have to agree on everything, but if we don't agree that we have that the government exists by our consent, not because they have the power, but because we give them the power. And also, key to this is that our basic rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, come from our God. They're inalienable. They don't come from George Washington, George Bush, Barack Obama, or Joe Dadgum Biden. They don't come from Kamala Harris. They come from God, and they cannot be taken away. If we don't agree with that anymore, what in the heck is there to unify behind? So I can make a strong case that what is happening in this country, when SCOTUS, when the Supreme Court refused to actually do their duty and hear the case, they're cowards. Let me just put it this way. They are cowards, including every one of them that voted the other way. Gorsuch, the three that were appointed by Kavanaugh and Amy Barron Cohen, all of them. You know that what the left was going to do. And John Roberts, my God, man, what a piece of work he is. They're cowards. I'm just going to say it like it is. And you can call me whatever you want. You can change a channel. You can restrict me, algorithm and all that. But I'm going to speak the truth as best I can as I see it over and over again. Because I honestly believe that's what you want to hear. And if you don't, then I don't know what to tell you. And if you do, then spread the word, because I need your help. Go to our sponsors, participate in the giveaway, all that kind of stuff. That's what I need you to do. Because not everybody can be a fighter, but everybody can support those of us in the fight. And even if you don't like me, you probably would admit, if you're honest, that I am a fighter. I come with it every day. I bring it every day. I try to do it in a seriously entertaining way, but some things just aren't funny, and you just have to state it. And I must be doing a pretty good job, because the trolls are back. I was getting trolled more and more right up to the election. Then after the election, I guess their paychecks got cut, and they weren't trolling me anymore. Now they're back, which I take as a good sign, not only for me, but maybe the president. But we got choices, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to get back into this article in a minute, but I had to get this off my chest, because this idea that we are, immune to a civil war is not true. It's not true. And probably the only thing keeping us from being in a civil war right now, and we've been in a cultural one for some time. Most people admit that. But probably the only thing is because, and some people, even supporters of the show, might get offended by this, but I just want to tell you, we have gotten fat and happy. Look at me. I'm fat and I'm pretty happy. So I'm talking about myself. Ever since really, for a long time, but certainly since World War II, our country has gone into a slumber. And it is time for patriots to put up or shut up time. And if they get truly awakened, which I think all of this is liable to do, I don't think they're going to just go quietly into the night. I don't know. Are we going to? Because the only way to prevent some type of uprising, if you will, in this country, is for us to a couple of things have to happen. One, and it doesn't seem like this is going to happen, we have to feel satisfied. You don't have to necessarily believe that Donald Trump won or lost the election, but we have to feel satisfied that it was thoroughly investigated, and that, we accept the results of the system that we have. But see, I don't see any thorough investigation really anywhere. So it's kind of hard to accept that. And we have to, and the other thing is, in order for there not to be any trouble, we have to either accept it, reject it, but still go home and put our take our toys and just go home and get back in that hammock and go to sleep, to hit the snooze alarm. I mean, that's the only, because if we're truly woke, then I think we're going to have some problems with this, because, there's 80 million people voted for Trump, and a lot of other people support him, didn't even vote for him, because, half the country that still doesn't vote, which I don't get. But they're just not going to accept this. I know I'm not. But we got some choices to make, and we're going to talk about that over time. I'm mostly trying to wait to see how this all plays out. If Joe Biden gets to be president of the United States, I think a lot is going to happen. Anyway, that's just me. I'm not hoping for it, by the way. I'm not hoping for violence, but I'm concerned about it. All right, back to this story. Powell, who is no longer associated with Trump's legal team, sued last month on behalf of Republican voters in Michigan and Georgia. She described her litigation as releasing the Kraken, a reference to a mythical sea monster unleashed by Zeus in the 1981 film Clash of the Titans. There's the Kraken, man. I tell you what, talk about Titans, it's going to take a Titan-type effort to save this country. I don't think anyone could dispute that if you believe in the Republic. Like I say, if you don't believe in the Constitution, if you think it's outdated and in the way, if you don't believe the Declaration of Independence has as much merit today as it ever did, then there's really nothing for us to really agree on. And so we just have to see where we all stand. But to save this nation, if you truly want to save it and avoid any kind of violence, then it's going to take a titanic effort, a Titan-like effort. You're going to have to vote in Georgia, for instance, no matter what, to elect these Republicans, whether you really like them or not, and you're worried about corruption. We're going to have to try to overwhelm it. Because if we don't get the Senate, hold the Senate, and Biden, God help us, actually becomes president, then I don't know how we overturn any of this short of some kind of violence, because our system is going to be so corrupt that we're not going to be able to work with it. But it's going to take an effort. You can't go back to your comfy life. I mean, man, I love my life. I love to go hunting. I mean, I don't hunt anymore, but I love to go fishing. I love to, with my grandkids, because the other day I had a couple of them over at the house, young ones, and I was loading my truck to go fishing. Hey, take us fishing, Papa, take us fishing. They call me Big Papa. And I was telling them, that I would, but I didn't mean on that one, of course. Anyway, I left at like 3 o'clock in the morning. The next morning they woke up and they were running around the house. Where's Papa? Where's Papa? He left us. Man, it kind of breaks my heart to hear that. They're just too young to go. But I want to take them, and I want to live my life. I got a great life, thanks to, Pursuit of Happiness deal. But I understand that if I go back and just go to sleep, that someday my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren will not have that life. Because like Ronald Reagan so eloquently said, and I'm sure I'll botch it up, basically he said that freedom is not passed along in the bloodstream. It has to be taught and passed from one generation to the next, which is one of the main reasons I'm doing this show. I'm just telling you. In rejecting the Michigan suit, U.S. District Judge Linda Parker said it offered nothing but speculation, talking about Powell's suit in Michigan, and conjecture that votes for President Trump were destroyed, discarded, or switched to votes for Vice President Biden. Well, that's been proven. That part was factual, like 20,000 in that Dominion software. In Georgia, U.S. District Judge Timothy Batten dismissed the suit orally after an hour-long hearing. Now, this is the suits that, now that they've had a ruling, dismissed it, that Sidney Powell is taking to the Supreme Court. They've agreed. It's on their docket. Whether or not they'll actually do anything remains to be seen. But has there been any real investigation in any of this stuff? I haven't really seen one. I haven't. Now, keep in mind that in order to really change this thing, and I'll tell you, I'm going to be straight up with you, Donald Trump is under the gun. If anybody could prevail in this, it would be the Donald. There's no doubt about that. And I've said this before, but if I say it, it bears repeating, and some people don't like to hear it. But sometimes the truth is hurtful. The problem is, we, and I'm talking about me as well, even though I talked a lot about it at the time, should have nipped this in the bud 8 months ago when we knew they were planning to steal the election with the cheat by mail and everything else. To get the votes cast, and now to try to, put the genie back in the bottle, the horse back in the barn, is very, very difficult. Because and this is one of the things that the courts, because keep in mind, one, they don't really want to be the deciding factor. Some of them do, but mostly they don't. And we can see that they're pretty much cowards when it comes to actually doing what they need to do. But the problem I have is the Supreme Court with the Texas case wouldn't even look at the evidence. Because what has to happen is there has to be enough evidence and proof, because they're not always the same, to overturn hundreds of thousands of votes. That's what's got to happen. And the court, and I understand their reluctance, but there is a reluctance, courage is not just jumping into something and not even caring about. Courage is knowing that you got a hard job to do, that it could be the end of you. It could make results you don't want, but facing your fear. Courage is facing your fear. Insanity is just running out there and, stormtrooping something without a plan. But courage is facing your fear and doing your dadgum duty anyway. So that's why I say that they're cowards, because they're fearful of interjecting themselves. I get that. I actually get that. I really do. But you got to have courage to face your fear and do your dadgum duty. And the Supreme Court, I'm not saying they should have automatically ruled in Trump's favor. I'm saying they should have weighed the evidence under a constitutional trial at the Supreme Court, which is what should have happened by the Constitution, and they punted, as they say. They didn't kick the can down the road. They kicked it under the bus, and it got ran over. But that's my problem. Powell is seeking to challenge these rulings directly at the Supreme Court, bypassing the Federal Appeals Court. At this moment, let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to end this one and go on to the next story. I hate to say this because I never thought I would say this, especially after Ms. Because if you go back and look at our show, man, I was excited for Amy Barron Court. I said she could be one of the, we could just have her up there and get rid of the rest. But it's funny about the Supreme Court, man. Once they get up there, you never know. And the jury's still out on her a little bit. And I'm not laying it all on her by any stretch. But I got to say, at this moment, I have very little faith in the Supreme Court. They've shown me nothing. And like I say, I know I'm repeating myself, but I want to make it clear. I'm not saying because they didn't rule in Trump's favor, however you want to look at that. And I'm biased towards President Trump. I think history will judge him like I do as the greatest president we've had thus far, other than maybe our founding fathers, which are hard to top. But the Supreme Court not even taking up and looking at the evidence is pretty unforgivable to me. I don't know how you feel about it. But I know that President Trump already knows this. I got this meme I put up the other day on my Facebook site about a den of vipers. And I think it's really as true now as the day he came down the escalator. Look at that and tell me where I'm wrong. Let me know. And I don't trust any of them. I don't trust the Republicans. I don't trust the Supreme Court. The only person I really trust right now is Donald Trump. And there's a handful of others. But Donald Trump, man. But here's the thing I'm worried about, okay? And I've shown this. I'm a big fan of South Park. If you hadn't watched that show, I love it because there is no prejudice in them. They jab everybody. But Cartman is a character in that. If you haven't seen the cartoon, it's a bit risque in some sense. But it's right on time. But one of Cartman is kind of the villain in the show. And he's constantly saying, "Screw you guys, I'm going home." And that's what I worry about patriots doing right now, becoming Cartman and just say, "Hey, I'm going home. I'm going fishing. I'm going back to my good life. I'm going to head for the hills and don't bother me." And I get that. It's a temptation for me to do that. But I realize that if we do, then we've lost everything. And we're going to have to man the political ramparts again. And we need to man, I meant to say the real ones. We need to man the political ones right now. If you don't know what ramparts are, like one of my people listening said they looked it up now, they understand it. If we don't man the political ones right now, and even through this, even God help us if Joe Biden becomes actual president, if we give up, if we go, "Screw you guys, I'm going home," then we will have to man the real ramparts again to save our freedom. Because it's not guaranteed. It's not, man will try to take it away. And that would be a dadgum shame because we've already paid that price. Generations of Americans have paid the price for us to be free. What we have to do is keep fighting no matter what. Because is our challenge any greater than the Valley Forge guys that were in the snow with no shoes on? Is our challenge any greater than the guys that stormed the beach at Normandy, or the guys that were put into Vietnam in a quagmire there? They never should have been there. Or the list is long. The guys that are fighting terrorists all over the planet right now. Is our challenge any greater than them? Maybe it is in this sense. Maybe it's because of our ignorance and apathy, which is what I'm battling every day. Maybe that apathy is a greater challenge than facing the machine guns of the Nazis. It could be. Because it's hard, see. When they're shooting at you, it's pretty easy to shoot back. When you don't feel like, I hope you understand what I mean. But if we don't man the political ramparts, we're going to have to man the real ones again, man. Or we're going to be subjects of the realm. And I don't want to be a sheeple. All right, we got a few minutes left. Let's get into this next story here. And this is kind of ties into the story they just did. This is an AP story. McConnell, talking about Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader. Mitch McConnell warns GOP, which is the Republican Party, off electoral college brawl in Congress. So he's basically saying Biden's won this thing, time to move along, and let's give up these challenges. He's not saying that the Trump organization or the Trump White House or the Trump campaign should give up the challenge because he knows that would be fruitless. But he's telling the fellow GOPers that he believes are still going to be there, the Senate and members of the House, to shut up and get in line because it's going to hurt the Republican Party. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It's going to hurt him, maybe. All right, fending off a messy fight that could damage Republicans ahead of Georgia's Senate runoffs, because it's all about that. And I'm telling you, you know me, I'm with Donald Trump. Donald Trump said go in there and vote for these Republicans. That's good enough for me. I could give you a litany of other reasons, but that right there is good enough for me. It should be good enough for everybody. But fending off a messy fight that could damage Republicans ahead of Georgia's Senate runoffs, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell warned fellow GOP senators on Tuesday not to join President Donald Trump's extended assault on the Electoral College. I like how they say in this that it could damage Republicans ahead of the Georgia Senate runoffs. Is that true? In what world is that true? Now, could it hurt Democrats like Kemp and whatever, Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, Kemp, the governor? Yeah, it could hurt them maybe. Maybe it could. I don't see how it hurts Kelly Loeffler or Purdue's chances of winning those runoffs. Those are the two Republicans in there. I don't see how it keeps Republicans from coming out to vote, the same people that came out to vote for Donald Trump. I don't see how that hurts them at all. Are you telling me, Mitch, that to stand up for the president is going to keep Republicans and other Democrats that voted for Trump from voting again? I would say it's just the opposite is true. Now, it could motivate, I guess maybe I'll give him this, it could motivate the Stacey Abrams of the world to do even more, but how much more could they do than what they're already going to do anyway? The only way Republicans are going to win this thing is to turn out in numbers and Democrats and independents. If you care about the U.S. Constitution, if you want the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then you got to come out, even if you don't like Donald Trump, and elect these, and you don't like these Republicans, and elect them anyway. As I'm not saying, just like the Supreme Court guys, I'm not saying that they're going to do the right thing, Loeffler and Purdue. I'm not saying they're not. I'm being neutral on that. But I know what's going to happen if they don't get up there. Because I trust, let me tell you, there's two people I trust pretty explicitly. And they're flip side, they're opposite side. I trust Donald Trump. So he said vote in Georgia. That's good enough for me. You know who else I trust? I trust Chuck Schumer. I absolutely 100% trust Chuck Schumer. You know what I mean by that? I mean, I trust him to do anything possible to change America, change the world, and do away with our Constitution. I trust everything he says. He wants to fundamentally change America, which to me means shred or burn up the Constitution. I trust he will do exactly that if he has the power. So I trust him on this. I want to play you this. This is why I don't really trust any of them. There's an ad. This is from about 6 years ago. My good friend Ted Yoho, who was leaving Congress because he said he would after 4 terms, I think. This is about 8 years ago. And he is. We got a great young representative coming up there, the youngest woman to ever represent up there in Kat Comack. So I'm hopeful for her, but we haven't seen her do anything yet. We'll see, and that's not a knock on her. We're friends with her. But I'm going to miss Ted Yoho for sure. But Ted Yoho did an ad when he first ran for Congress, and he beat a 26-year incumbent Republican to get there. And I call it pigs in the trough ad. But without any further ado, I'm going to play it. And let me tell you, I think this is one of the greatest political ads ever. And it is true today, more so than it was true then. Check it out.
Career politicians, they're like pigs feeding at the trough. Career politicians got us in this mess, but all they do is throw mud at each other. I'm Ted Yoho. I'm a conservative businessman and a veterinarian. The career politicians have given us $16 trillion in debt. It's time for new leadership. I'll repeal Obamacare and balance the budget. And after 8 years in Washington, I'll come home. Let's put the mudslinging aside, run the pigs out of the trough, and put America first. I'm Ted Yoho, and I approve this message. How about you?
Pigs at the trough, baby. That's what's up there. See, the swamp, that's what the swamp rats are as well. Pigs at the trough as well. Because they don't really care who the president is. People like Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer, do you really believe they actually care about who the president is? They're just waiting for their turn at the trough because they know cycles come, cycles go. They're there forever, and one of them gets their turn one time, and one of them gets their turn the next time, and they're just pigs waiting at the trough. And whoever president is, whether it's Obama, Biden, that's why they like Biden, because he's just a go-along, get-along guy. It don't matter. The one that mattered was Donald Trump. And I can tell you right now, Mitch McConnell has never been a Trump supporter. Not one time. He supported Donald Trump for his own power's sake, but not because he believed in MAGA, not because he believed in America First, because Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer believe in the same thing. They believe in the swamp, baby. And they believe that you voters out there you're just in the way, and they have to deal with you every 2 to 4 years, or 6 years if you're a senator. And that's it. Think about that. The senators serve longer than the dadgum president. And so presidents matter? Not in the eyes of them. Donald Trump mattered and matters, and that's why they want to get rid of him right there, because he actually mattered. In public remarks and private warnings, McConnell worked to push ahead to the Biden era and unite a fractured Republican Party ahead of the runoff elections in Georgia that will determine Senate control, who's got the power. And it says here, unite a fractured Republican Party. Are we fractured? Are you people that supported Donald Trump? It's more than just Republican. Are you fractured? We might feel brokenhearted, a fractured heart. But as I've been telling you, Donald Trump showed me that I was one of the frogs in the pot. I always thought I wasn't. But I was one of the frogs in the pot that was just simmering along. But baby, I am out the pot. I've jumped out that pot and I ain't going back. I'm not going back no matter what happens. Joe Biden could be president, whatever. Kamala Harris could end up being the president. One thing is for sure, I'm going to keep speaking the truth right here as long as I got this microphone. Count on it. And if I can't do it here, I'll probably compete with the Will Work for Food guys out there with a sign somewhere. Because I'm not getting back in the pot. I'm not getting back in the comfort of the hammock. Because I want my children to go fishing with their big papa, my grandchildren. I want that to happen. So I'm all about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, man. I am the life. I feel liberated. I'm the life of the party. And I've been pursuing happiness sometimes to my detriment since the day I was born. And I ain't stopping now. And, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to keep that. So I'm not getting back in the pot, but I don't trust any of these sons of guns. I told you that. I trust Donald Trump. First, a Republican leader heaped praise, talking about Mitch McConnell, on Trump's endless accomplishments. Yeah, he did the typical stuff. Congratulated President-elect Joe Biden during a nominating Senate speech. Now, I understand why he did that, and I'm not bashing him necessarily for that, because they got to do a certain amount of that. But I still don't trust the guy. Then he pivoted privately, warning Republican senators away from disputing the Electoral College tally when Congress convenes in a joint session on January 6th to confirm the results. Now, the Trump campaign, the Trump White House has basically said that January 6th is kind of the drop dead date. It might be the decide our fate date. We'll see. The fight would yield a terrible vote. This is what Mitch McConnell said. The fight would yield a terrible vote for Republicans, McConnell told the senators, according to two people who were there anonymously. But I believe it. I got to tell you, because it sums up how I believe about McConnell. Two people granted anonymity to discuss the call, which was first reported by Politico. They would have to choose, talking about Republican legislators, Senate and House members, they would have to choose whether to back Trump or publicly buck him. Back Trump or publicly buck him. So, once again, what McConnell fears is what Donald Trump has been doing the whole time he's been up there and why they hate him. He's showing who the rats truly are, man. He's showing what the swamp really is. And we had this stuff with Barr come out this past week. I'm not going to talk much about it right now. Kind of missed my window, but I'll talk more about it maybe later. And what's the guy, the special prosecutor, Durham and all that. Billy Bob tells me, if you haven't met my psychic sidekick, he keeps me straight here. He kind of reminded me just now. Yes, I'm a fish whisperer. Make fishing great again. He keeps me straight. He's got a Twitter handle. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. But he tells me that the reason why, and believe me, he's right about this, and I want to see the perp walks. I want to see, the hands behind the coats over the head, all that kind of stuff. But I don't talk a lot about it because the rats don't want to convict the rats. And that's what it is in Washington. There's a bunch of rats up there. Republicans are worried about bad effects on the January 5th runoff election where two incumbent, Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, face Democratic challenge. It don't matter. Vote Republican. You got no choice. If it's true, if it's true that Republicans are worried about that, then what they need to do is fight. Fight. I'm talking about the legislatures up there, the governor, the Secretary of State, the congressmen that are up there, Perdue and Loeffler, who are still senators at this moment. They gotta fight. Fight for Trump. Fight for truth. Fight every inch of the way. Don't give a dadgum inch, because these progressives cannot be reasoned with, cannot be dealt with, cannot be negotiated with like they did with Stacey dadgum Abrams. They can only be defeated. That's it. But I don't think I wish I could tell you I think the Republicans are going to fight. They're not. I don't believe it. McConnell has been a strong supporter of most Trump efforts, but the turn of events 6 weeks after election, Kentucky senator backed by his legislative team in the background, other senators, realization with coming Biden presidency while avoiding the spectacle of pitched floor fight that would divide the party as Trump reluctantly leaves office. The spectacle. So they want to avoid a spectacle. So I'm going to read the definition right quick like of a spectacle. A visual striking performance or display. Well, let me just tell you, that's exactly what we needed. That's what we need now. We need to create a spectacle for freedom. We need to do that, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just tell you what you're hearing right now. Listen to this sound right now. That's the sound of a pig at the trough, baby. And that's what's happening. Republicans are guilty, if not more guilty, because the Democrats, because I've already known what they are. But I don't trust any of those pigs at all. They're pigs at the trough, and they're feeding us BS by the bucketful. By the bucketful. And, anyway, I was going to talk more and more about this, but we're pretty much out of time. The bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is we have a decision to make. And I hate to say this, Donald Trump is up against it. If you were betting right now, you might not want to bet on it, But if anybody can do it, it's DJT. I believe that. And there's still some fight out there. I'm in it. I'm with it. I'm with you. We need to put Donald Trump back in there. But understand this, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to have to fight no matter what to save this country. Because I'll say this and I'll close the show. The MAGA agenda, the America First agenda, if it was only about Donald Trump, and I think he would say this as well, if it was only about him, it was doomed to failure from the go. Because this swamp is deep, the pigs are out there, and if we're not in this fight for the long haul, it took us decades to get here. If we're not in the fight for the long haul, then we might as well say, screw you, I'm going home. I'm not ready to do that. I'm ready to fight them pigs. I'm ready to hunt them down no matter what. You got an old hound dog right here in the fight with you. Stick with me. Go to and support our sponsors. Support the giveaway. Check it out. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. Let's all pray for this great nation and our president because they deserve it. But above all else, one more little thing here. Remember, there's a lot of pigs out there. But between now and then, ladies and gentlemen, I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. And like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.